What's good, people? It is Tony the Savant. And man, shout out to my people back home. Texas is the second home to me. But when it comes to the Longhorns and the Cowboys, a lot of my family and friends back home, in my second home anyway, in Texas, abandon all logic, common sense, wisdom, as I have been telling them all season long that the Longhorns season would not start until they faced up against Georgia. Now, Georgia was number one when we first started this season, I believe, or at least at some point in the AP poll. They haven't really exactly maintained that level of play as far as a number one AP poll team. But they showed you in this game what SEC football looked like, what it feel like, and why Texas just can't come over here with all that nonsense. But ladies and gentlemen, it is Tony the Savant. And before we get started, please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel. As well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel as I drop content daily, go live daily, stay very busy on the platform. And last but not least, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I'm always intrigued to hear what y'all got to say about these topics. As the ladies and sports fans and gentlemen, the Georgia Bulldogs were able to escape with the victory in this SEC matchup between themselves and the Texas Longhorns with a final score of 30-15. And like I said in the top of this video, man, and I mean this respectfully, uh, there was a lot of hoopla going on, a lot of hype surrounding this Texas team, especially when it beat Michigan. I think that was week 1 or week 2, very early on. And we all know Michigan isn't what it was a season ago. That's how college football goes for you. One year you're the most dominant team in the league. The next year, you're limping around. And that's sort of the case with Georgia as well. Georgia lost a lot of talent to the NFL. They were able to maintain Carson Beck and Trevor Etienne amongst a few others, but I just know that Georgia is SEC proven, SEC tested, and we saw that earlier this season versus Alabama. When they went down, like 28-0, and they fought back. They ended up losing that game, but at the same time, they fought back, but based on that SEC DNA. Now, Texas has always been a dominant team. I believe they came over from the Big 12, came over to the SEC as Big 12 champions. But the SEC, compared to all of the other conferences, respectfully, and I only say the Big 10 is the closest because as far as just the talent that's in the Big 10, but the SEC is worlds and levels above all of the other conferences. There's no way you can be ready for the SEC playing in the from coming over from the Big 12. And I say that respectfully because that's what I've been trying to explain to the Texas family and friends. It's like, yes, it was fun in games, but these guys are going to be tested in their season. Unfortunately for them, wasn't going to start until now. And what is this, week 7? Let me see the Texas Longhorns football schedule. They got it. Man, they got nothing but SEC games left. So we're gonna see what they're about because the SEC is different, man. It's just different. It's murky waters over here, and you got to be ready to go to war, as Georgia has just shown them. Hold on. So up until this point, they did go up against Mississippi State, which Mississippi State is nowhere where they, were. I'm gonna say this: Mississippi State is still a good team, but I'm not dependent on them this season. They blasted Colorado State. They blasted Michigan and Michigan's house. And yeah, Mississippi State was the first test. They had the Red River rivalry last week against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma is also in their rookie season as far as an SEC team. So yeah, I recall looking at this list and just thinking to myself that the Texas Longhorn season was not going to start until this game. And oh man, it was a good game, but Georgia, who had no real contribution from their star quarterback, NFL prospect Carson Beck, they had no contribution essentially from him. They beat Texas with SEC football. Just running it, pounding the ball, and then also defense, just giving the other team the absolute flux. Now, to Texas's credit, they adjusted at the halftime mark. They came out in the second half, was able to stack a little momentum, but I knew it was all for naught, me personally. And I had a lot of my friends and family, texting me and messaging me, saying, "Oh, we about to go on a run. We finna go on our run." And I was like, just wait, bro. And lo and behold, the referees did their darnest to try to keep Texas in this game. Not saying it was any real funny business, but it just seemed like a lot of calls was going in Texas's way. A lot of play reviews, which I always find to be funny, be funny, and when it comes down to some of these games. But let's look over this article real quick, ladies and gentlemen, just to get a scope of what happened in this game. I could talk all day about some college football, but I like to read some articles when it comes to my college games because they really encompass what went down. Hold on one second. Boo, 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 boo. Okay. All right. So this article reads: Number 5, Georgia knocks off number 1, Texas, 30-15, with Etienne running for 3 touchdowns. In fact, shout out to Trevor Etienne, man. I know he's an NFL bound prospect as well. I believe his brother plays in the NFL as well for the Jaguars. I don't know if they are related, but I think his name's Travis Etienne as well. But this kid, who has been kind of quiet all season long, to be honest, as the star. We'll see where he goes on from here. But it says Trevor Etienne ran for 3 touchdowns. The first 2 set up by cornerback Dalen Edwards takeaways. Not Edwards, Everett's takeaways, and fifth ranked Georgia went on to beat Quinn Ewers and number 1 Texas 30-15 on Saturday night. Etienne's last score was a 1-yard plunge on 4th down with 12 minutes and 4 seconds left. That came right after an ugly sequence when Texas fans littered the field with water bottles and other trash after referees called a pass interference penalty that initially wiped out an interception and long return before the flag was picked up and set up a Longhorns touchdown. These players bring out the best out of me, Georgia coach Kirby Smart said. They tried to rob us with calls in this place, and these guys are so resilient. Shout out to Coach Kirby for keeping it a buck. In the NFL, that would have came with a fine, easy fine. Georgia, who is now 6-1, 4-1 in the SEC conference, which began the season at number 1, has won 3 in a row since the 41-34 loss that we talked about a little bit earlier to then number 4 Alabama, when the Bulldogs overcame a 28-0 deficit and went ahead late during an exchange of long touchdown passes. The Bulldogs never trailed in their first trip to Austin since 1958 to take on the SEC newcomer that had gotten through the first half of its schedule pretty much unscathed. Nobody gave us a chance. Everybody doubted us, Kirby Smart said, then making a reference to ESPN's College Game Day pregame show that broadcast from the Austin campus earlier in that day. Did you watch the show this morning? I didn't because I was in meetings, but I got 8,000 texts about it. Yes, it was a sweep across the board. Even Nick Saban disrespected Georgia by all of the guys on College Game Day. Pat McAfee and the crew, they all picked Texas to win this game, which just goes to show you, man, you can't trust them ESPN panelists. They just say whatever. Will say whatever is more popular at the time. Texas 6-1, now 2-1 in the SEC. One at reigning national champion Michigan in week 2 and had been behind for less than 4 minutes all season before facing the back-to-back national champions before the Wolverines. The 15-point loss was the most lopsided for a number one team at home since Notre Dame's 31-16 win at Pittsburgh in 1982. According to Sports Radar, when Dan Marino was the Panthers quarterback. That's some history. I didn't know. I wasn't aware of that. Unfortunately, we didn't play our best football tonight, but we were still competitive. Hopefully, we get another crack at them. Texas coach Steve Sarkisian said, Sarkisian, excuse me. They've been the standard in college football now for about 5 or 6, 7 years, and we played them really well in the second half. Georgia quarterback Carson Beck improved to 19-2 as a starter, including a 7-2 mark against ranked teams. He was 23 of 41 for 175 yards, and finished with 3 interceptions. Though Texas didn't get anything out of two of those interceptions he threw in the first quarter. The Longhorns had only 38 total yards when trailing 23-0 at halftime, which was crazy work to me. Jade Barron's pick and 36-yard return to the Georgia 9 late in the third quarter came after contact with Arian Smith that drew a pass interference penalty. Sarkisian was irate at officials, then went to the far corner of the field where students sit, signaling signaling them to quit throwing things on the field. As the debris was being picked up, officials were discussing the play and picked up the flag. 2 plays later, Quinn Ewers threw a 17-yard touchdown to Jaden Blue, to get the Longhorns to 23-15. The Southeastern Conference released a statement early Sunday morning that said officials made the proper decision with their decision to not call a penalty on the play. Real quick, I just want to segue and talk about that particular time in the field in the game. I agree, it was a bad call by the refs, and I'm glad, albeit it wasn't very popular, towards Georgia. It was the right play. There was no foul on the play. There was no pass interference, in my opinion. But I do believe that the Texas fans, students, whoever was doing all that stuff, man, throwing stuff on the field, was very not classy. Let's put it out there. That was some very embarrassing stuff. Just because you all feel some kind of way about a call does not give you a right to delay the game and all of that mess, man. It could have been worse for sure. But at the end of the day, that's just not classy at all, and it's very unbecoming of Texas. It kind of gave them a bad look in such a good game. Everett's blindside, Ewers Quinn Ewers completed 25 of 43 passes for 211 yards. Everett's blindside sack late in the first quarter jarred loose the ball from Ewers, and the defender recovered at the Texas 13 after several of his teammates had tried to pick up the fumble that led to Indians' 2-yard touchdown for a 7-0 lead. A 15-yard touchdown run by Indian with a late lunge into the end zone made it 17-0, and Everett stepped in front of a receiver for an interception at the Texas 34. We all always say that the takeaways come in bunches. Everett said, "We practice taking small details seriously." Peyton Woodring kicked 3 field goals before halftime for Georgia, the last a 44-yarder as time expired after freshman Arch Manning in for the second series fumbled while being sacked. And I do want to say that Arch Manning looked petrified out there, man. The Georgia Bulldogs was like inviting for him to be put into the game, because you can tell that they planned for him as well as for Quinn Ewers. Maybe nobody else could, but I could definitely tell the Georgia Bulldogs was anticipating Arch Manning being put in the game. But it says Georgia. Kirby Smart got his 100th career win. in 117 games over 9 seasons. The defense set the tone for the Dogs, including 7 sacks and forcing 4 turnovers that Georgia turned into 17 points. Texas, this was the Longhorns' biggest test so far in the SEC, and it turned into a jarring reminder of how difficult things can be in their new league. Texas has lost its last 5 home games against top 5 opponents since a win over number 3 Nebraska in 1999 when they were in the Big 12 together. Poll implications, Texas will fall out of the number 1 spot naturally. It is just a matter of how far Oregon, 6-0, is likely to take over the top spot from number 2. And Georgia could possibly replace the Ducks there at number 3, Penn State, and number 4, Ohio State, whose only loss was at Oregon, were both off this weekend. Georgia has Florida next week. Georgia faces Florida November 2nd in their annual game in Jacksonville, Florida. And Texas has Vandy, which is going to be a tough test for them as well because Vanderbilt has beat Alabama earlier this week. I think it was about 2 weeks ago this time. So Vandy is a very feisty team. They're the little brothers of the SEC, but they fight very hard, and you can easily lose that game. In fact, Vandy has won a couple games this season that they were supposed to lose. So I would not take that game lightly if I were the Texas Longhorns. Diego, I forget his last name, Pava, and those guys over there. But let's look at the box score just a little bit. Again, Carson Beck had 23 of 41. Let's look on the other side. Quinn Ewers was 25 of 43, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Arch Manning played for that one series. He went 3 of 6, got 19 yards out of it. Arch also rushed. Oh, man, I thought he had a big rush, but he did get sacked a couple times as well. But for the rushing department for Texas, Quintravian Wisner led the way, 15 receptions, 52 yards. Matthew Golden led the way in the receiving department, 3 receptions for 77 yards. Gunnar Ham had 6 receptions for 62 yards. Jaden Blue, again, a touchdown scorer with 7 receptions and 48 yards to go along with it. And Isaiah Bond had 2 receptions for 11 yards, 1 touchdown in his own right. The defense had picked up 3 interceptions. 2 were to Jade Barron and 1 to Andrew Makuba. And also 1 sack was recorded by the Texas Longhorn as well by Anthony Hill Jr. And for the victor, we mentioned before, Carson Beck, 23 of 41, 175 yards, 3 picks. Not a good day for the NFL prospect, but thank goodness he was bailed out by another NFL prospect, in my opinion, Trevor Etienne, the running back for the Georgia Bulldogs. He had 3 big touchdown scores, as mentioned, 19 carries for only 87 yards. The receiving core for Georgia, Carson Beck did do a good job by spreading the wealth. You had Oscar Delp, 2 receptions, 45 yards. Dominic Lovett, 4 receptions, 35 yards. Arian Smith, one of my favorite players in the college football world right now, 6 receptions, 32 yards. Not a big game, but he had some big catches. And for the defense, they recorded 7 sacks. 3 went to Jalen Walker. 1 went to Dalen Everett in addition to his 2 interceptions. 2 sacks for Mikael Williams. Damon Wilson picked up the last of the 7 sacks as well. So, man, as you can see, Dalen Everett only had 1 interception. Part of my interruption. All right, so that was a good game. And once again, not no knock on Texas. They only got 1 loss this season. They can easily still be in the 12-team. It's a 12-team playoff format now. They can easily still be in the mix. It's just about how you bounce back and respond now. But it only gets a little tougher. They're not facing any other powerhouse teams. But again, the teams that they are that they're playing against, they finish out their season against all SEC teams. including Vanderbilt, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, Texas A&M. All of these teams have played tough this season. I've been privileged to watch at least one or two of each one of these teams' games. Kentucky actually pushed this very same Georgia Bulldogs team to the brink. Arkansas, I believe they beat Tennessee a couple weeks ago. If not, just had a good game with them. Vandy, of course, they upset the Kalen DeBoer new era by handing him his first loss against the number one ranked at the time Alabama. And then Florida has been playing tough as well, and Texas A&M can't count them out, as that's going to be the Texas rivalry game between those two teams. So all about how they bounce back. I'm very interested to see how Texas responds to their first taste of adversity this season. They didn't have any real challenges, man, and that's kind of a disadvantage for you when you walk into a game like of this magnitude. A team like Georgia, who is battle tested, got a battle tested quarterback, and has had some very good games this season in their own right. So we'll all see where they go from here. Again, Georgia goes to go face off against Florida. We'll see what that game looks like, and see if they get their number one spot back. Well, no, they said they probably have them at number 3 or so. So we'll see where they rank them in the new AP poll. I'll have a video covering that. But that's all I got for y'all on this one. Please like the video, share the video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel as well. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel as I drop content daily, go live daily. Stay very busy on the platform. And last but not least, please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section. I'm always interested to hear what y'all got to say about some college football. I am Tony the Savant. Peace.